Why? Why me? Why should I have to go through all this? We often ask this question to ourselves. The interesting thing is, we only ask this question whenever we are going through a crisis. How often we ask the same question whenever we are living our beautiful moments in our life? For a brief period of time, I too had the same question. Back in 2008, I took up a first UX role. It was a company here in Bangalore. It was located right opposite in Mobi. Things were going on really well, and soon I settled down and I got my first car. Actually, it was first for my entire family. My parents were super excited. They wanted to see that. So I drove down to Chennai to show my new car. It was around the last week of December in 2010. It was a great time for celebration. I had 2 more days in the vacation. Over a very casual conversation with my family, I was telling my mom that I had a small red patch on my left arm. And the red patch was persistent for some time. My mom insisted to visit the doctor. So the next day I went and met the doctor, and I had to take a couple of tests. So it was a Saturday noon. I was having all the test reports in my hand, and me and my mom were heading to meet the doctor at the clinic. Back at home, my wife was busy preparing for the next day's travel back to Bangalore because I had to report to work on Monday. Sitting in the clinic, I was all planning about coming back to Bangalore and the work and all of that. And when the doctor looked at the report, he immediately said, "Karthik, I'm going to fix an appointment with the hematologist. This is for Monday, so you have to go and meet him." Since I was all planned to go to Bangalore, I was telling the doctor, I'll come back a couple weeks later and visit the doctor. And immediately, the doctor said, "No, you have to cancel all your plans. This is more important for you." So, me and my mom left the clinic, and we thought like there is something serious. As soon as we reached home, my wife got to know it, and immediately she started to searching over the internet to find what the doctor was hinting at. By around evening of the same day, I guess the entire family got to know it because I could hear my wife and my mom crying in a room. I was sitting in the other room and telling to myself, everything is all right, in the typical denial mode. So on Monday morning, I went to meet the hematologist. The entire family was with my side. He looked at the reports, and then he uttered 3 words, which I couldn't even process at that time. After that, he said, "It's going to take only 4 days of treatment, and you'll be all right." I was thinking only about that. 4 days of treatment, I'm going to be all right. What started as a 4-day treatment went on for more than a week. There was so much of medication going in and out of my body. There was so much of pain. That is when I started to descend from those thoughts of great life, new car, great job, and all of that. The painful reality hit me like a boulder. At that moment, I realized what the 3 words the doctor said. He said, chronic myeloid leukemia, CML. A couple weeks into the treatment, I was going through excruciating pain. At times, I was reaching the limits of tolerating the pain. Lying on the bed, I was asking the same question. Why me? Why should I have to go through all this? Onto my side, my wife was lying on a small wooden bench provided for the caretakers. I thought she is taking an afternoon. When I woke her up in the evening, just to check if everything is fine, she gently held my hands in hers. And she looked at me. And she said, "I have a news for you. I'm pregnant." She was carrying our second child. And after that, I couldn't even give her a smile, nor could she. What's supposed to be one of the joyous moments in one's life for us went in complete silence. It took 45 days for my treatment to get over. When I got back home in Chennai, I was squeezed off all my energy and strength, both in my mind and body. But I had to report to work. I was thinking, can I work remotely for a couple months so that I can also parallelly take care of my treatment being in Chennai? I called up the office only to realize I'm left with no option, but I have to part ways with the company because they were not ready to support me working remotely. And this is the company I was literally spending all my life for the last 3 years. As my medication started, it started to give a lot of side effects. One of the side effects was very visible. I turned really pale. My skin used to look like inside of my palm. You couldn't even recognize me back then. I was facing very difficult to talk to people. Whenever a relative or a friend visits home, I used to go and hide in a room. And my mom would say, he's actually in Bangalore. In just 2 months, my life changed so much that I couldn't even identify it by myself. But life has to move on. I started taking small freelance work just to get myself and my confidence back in shape. I was also trying if I could able to find a full-time role in Chennai so that I can actually take care of my treatment there. A few months rolled. In August of 2011, we had our second child. It was a daughter. In the same week, I was offered to join as a UX designer in eBay. My life was slowly getting back on track. Those 8 to 9 months of struggle taught me a lot more in many ways. Biggest success and biggest failure, at least for me, happened in quick succession. I realized all these are momentary. Even this would change for sure. A few years rolled. I think it was about 2 years. I was still continuing my medication. It was a usual visit to the hematologist. And then I got to know that I started developing resistance to the medication. So I had to be put on a new medicine, and this is costing me even more. And it had a very strong dosage. And the only good part is it didn't have any visible side effects. I started to look very normal. Thank God. But within me, it had a different effect. It used to completely drain me out and my energy because of the strong dosage. Around the same time, I got the news from eBay that they are shifting out of Chennai. And again, I'm left with no option to give a role. So there was a few months of dip in my career. But the good point is, it gave me a compelling reason to convince my family that I had to move back to Bangalore if I had to find some really good job. By the end of 2014, I got a good UX role in Bangalore. And this was the company that was very different from all the rest I had worked previously. The kind of people I used to work with, and the kind of opportunities, and the whole environment I was in, it almost felt to me like a dream come true. Because I was able to forget all my pains while I am in that environment. Getting up every day in the morning, the effect of the medication I take the previous night used to be still on me. To feel very low on energy. Sometimes I used to think, should I even have to go to work today? Yes, I have to, at least to forget all my pains. In March of 2016, I was waiting for my bone marrow test results. And this is the test that I had to take every 6 months. It used to feel like I'm waiting for my board exam results, just that the intensity was several orders of magnitude higher. To all our surprise, and by God's grace, the test results showed there is no more leukemia. We all very excited. The whole family was really happy. And with all that excitement, we went and met the hematologist. He just looked at the report and simply requested to continue the medication. I had mixed feelings. I got so confused. And just 1 month later, I started developing a breathing problem. Again, went to the same doctor, and he diagnosed and said I had a condition called pleural effusion. And this condition is because of the side effect of the leukemia medication I was having. It prevents the lungs from expanding, and I had it on both my lungs. And again, back to the same hospital where I was first diagnosed. During the middle of the treatment, one day, I got a call from my manager. And after the call, I looked at my wife. And that moment felt so familiar to us because I just gotten promoted as principal UX. And that's the first promotion in my entire career. After hearing that news, she couldn't even smile, nor could I. Same as the moment when she shared the news of. There was that company which refused to support me during my earlier struggle, where I had literally lived almost 3 years of my life. But now, I have an organization which not only stood by my side in my struggle, but also recognized my contribution. And in just 1 year, it gave me a promotion. And if you had not already guessed, that's in Mobi. Now, my determination to go back home only got doubled. The reason is, now I have not one, two families, the one at home and the one right in front of me. Just that my journey back home got only treacherous. After 2 months of treatment, the pleural effusion didn't subside. I was put on a new medication because the earlier one started giving drastic side effects. By now, I had lost almost 15 kgs of weight, and I was confined to wheelchair. We were consulting multiple doctors. Everyone said the same thing. I had to be operated on both my lungs, and on top of that, I have leukemia. And so there is very little hope. Never. I used to hear a doctor saying this. Deep within me, I used to think, all this is going to be momentary. Everything is going to change for sure, and I'll come back more stronger. By God's grace, finally, in August of 2016, we found a really great doctor. He's the first person I had met who just said, you don't have to worry, you will be all right. It's a matter of weeks. He's the first one. He gave so much hope. And I had gone through my first surgery on the right lung. As he said, after 4-hour surgery, I started feeling better. That was a huge sigh of relief for us. I started to breathe normal. My appetite was getting normal. But still, I had to get operated on my left lung. So after 20 days, I went for the surgery on my left lung. But this time, I could able to walk. While I was walking into the operation theater, I was thinking, I'm just 4 hours away from completely getting cured out of this. The operation actually got complicated. It didn't go as I thought. After the surgery, the doctors figured out I had accumulated a lot of clots on the left lung. So I had to go for a second operation on the left lung on the same day. And after this, even more clots. So the following day, third operation. And by now, I was completely paralyzed and was put on a ventilator. This is the time there was like little hope because the doctors were running clueless and they don't know why that is happening. And the following day, I went through my fourth surgery on the same lung. And by God's grace, and all the hard work that those doctors actually put in, it paid off. Finally, it was successful. It took 24 hours for me to regain my consciousness. When I opened my eyes, I saw my wife bringing my daughter into the room. I was lying there on the bed with so much of wires and tubes running in and out of my body. I could only move my head. I turned towards my daughter, and there she was, looking at me with all the smiles on her face. I was so strong in my mind. I was so determined. I was able to go through all those surgeries. But at that moment, I don't know what happened. Tears just started flowing through my eyes. I couldn't speak, but in my mind, I was telling, Kiranmai, I'll never ever make you see me like this again. I'll do all the best to give you the best life. The doctor who made all this surgery, he went and told me that I had a miraculous recovery. After 5 surgeries, the entire circumference, almost like more than half the circumference around my chest was cut open and was stitched back. And still, this doctor made me feel like everything is all right. While I was consulting other doctors, I also went into Apollo. And this doctor said, it will take at least 1 year for me to recover. In contrary, the doctors who did the surgery said it will only take 2 weeks for me. Recently, actually, I went and met a doctor in Sakra Hospital. I explained my treatment and said the doctor name. And he just said only one thing. Karthik, you were in safe hands. Yes, I were in safe hands. I just wanted to take one moment and show you what those safe hands actually looks like. This is Dr. Rajiv Santosham, who did all my 5 surgeries. He's not only a cardiothoracic surgeon, he's a bodybuilding enthusiast and actually runner-up in Steelman 2017. You know, because of them, what I did? I drove back all the way from Chennai to Bangalore and joined the work in 45 days. And within 3 months, I took to cycling to work, and I do it every day. They inspired me not to take this as an excuse and not bring the best out of me. Even today, whenever these memories cross my mind, I used to feel a bone-chilling fear. It completely paralyzes my thought. Instantly, I am forced to shut that thought down and focus on much better things that are happening around, the exciting things that are happening in my family and work. And I realize that is the best thing I should do. We often get carried away with those negative thoughts, and sometimes it goes out of control. If that happens, we'll get depressed. Sometimes these negative thoughts can also make us sick again. The key to this is cut it very, very early. They say the greatest battle lies within. This is the battle between a belief and a fear. Same like a life having an up and down, even this battle has an up and down. The more you believe, the less you fear. The less you believe, the more you fear. So the choice is obvious. If you start to believe that, you will realize success and failure are momentary. Like up and down, like good and bad, they come and go. But you will remain strong. You will be ready to face any moment without any fear. And the moment you realize you don't have fear, you will see yourself as a different person. And today, I see myself as a different person. My family bonding got much more deeper. All those small issues which leads to big fights and straining relationship, we're not even bothering about that. Because we know life is much, much larger than that. Me and my family developed so much empathy for the world around us because that is the world which brought me back to my life. Coming back to the question, why me? I don't know. I would have gotten all this if I hadn't gone through. I think I have an answer to the question, why me? So I don't ask that question anymore. All I do is just look at a graph like this and wonder, isn't this what a healthy life actually looks like? Thank you all.